In preparing for my Thursday game of D&D this week, I had a realization. It's something that's going to make me run my games so much easier and more fluid. It's just like a super tip that I would love to get to scream from the mountaintops, and thus this video. And the best news is, it only takes using your cell phone. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society, and this week I have come up with one of those tips, one of those brain bursts that absolutely makes me excited and thrilled to be a dungeon master, but also so excited to scream it from the mountaintops and share it with all of you. I'm literally in the middle of preparing for my Thursday game of D&D and decided to set all this stuff up specifically to talk about this because of my excitement level. And the tip is so easy. All it takes is you, your players, and your cell phone. So what is this super genius, unheard of tip that will make all of your games better for doing it? And the answer is talk to your players. Now hear me out. That sounds like a cop-out that you've heard in 1,000 other places before, and maybe it is a little bit simple of a tip, but I'll give you some examples that make me a better dungeon master, and hopefully it will help all of you as well. There are so many times that I will write an arc for my campaign, that I will write a story or a vignette for my game, and that's great that I wrote that. But this is a collaborative storytelling game. It is a game where it is not my story that my players are playing in. It's also not my player's story that I am moderating. It is our collective story. So I don't hear enough GMs and DMs out there that are talking about how, because it is a collaborative storytelling experience, we need to be communicating more to make sure that it is collaborative. And in my opinion, that doesn't just happen at the table. It happens in the moments away from the table when you can have one-on-one conversations with your players. I personally, as a DM, like to have a short call with each of my players one time a week. And each time I have these calls, I ask them 2 basic questions. Now, there are times that I will ask them more than that, but weekly, I like to touch base with them and ask them at least these 2. And sometimes it'll happen before the game starts if everybody had a busy week and I don't get to talk to them. But it always, as a minimum, per week, I like to hear an answer to these 2 questions. The first one is, what do you think is going to happen next? That is a super important thing where the player gets to predict what they think is coming in the coming days. The next question that I ask is, what do you think your character thinks is coming next? And sometimes those are the exact same answer. Some players, those will always be similar things, but with some players, their answers are wildly different. And it is amazing how much my players will come up with things that I just would never have even thought to try, that I'm like, wow, that is a way better idea than what I originally had come up with. Now, if you've had a conversation with me as a human being for more than 15 minutes at any point in my life, you will know that I will eventually start bragging about my players. I wish a sincere wish to all DMs and GMs that are out there in the world that you will get a table of players that are as awesome to play with as mine, because every hardworking DM deserves that, and I am just so lucky to have the I can't say enough good things about my players. To all of you that are watching this right now, you make my D&D experience what it is. And so I am very fortunate to have players that are not just invested in the story and in their characters, but in the other players' characters and my world. That goes a long way. But even if those things are not something that you find inside of your gaming experience with your players, I encourage you to try these 2 questions of what do you think is coming next and what does your character think is coming next, and see what that does for your game. It takes a lot of the prep work away, because the players will say things that make a lot of sense and feel really, really, really good. So then you don't have to come up with this stuff out of the ether. You're not looking out into the gray blank expanse of space trying to come up with something, your players will help you. And then they get to feel vindicated when they were right. They weren't right, but their idea was so good you decided to go with it. This can be expanded on even more, and sometimes when your players are all guessing one thing, you go the other direction to give them a little bit of a surprise. Now, I always recommend don't do that all the time, because everyone likes to get to feel right. So if you're always using these conversations to deny them being right, I think there's something definitely wrong with that. But sometimes turning the story on its head when all your players were expecting to go one way and you go the other can be a super fun thing to do. Hopefully this tip was useful for you. This is a very kind of like half-baked, quick throw-together video. Like I said, I was literally in the middle of preparing and decided to throw lights up and start talking about this just because I think that it is a really cool idea and I wish that I heard more DMs and GMs talk about it. It is a collaborative game, so therefore make it collaborative. Talk to your players. Get on the phone, have a text conversation if you have to, although I'm a huge fan of doing it over the phone because hearing each other's voices and seeing each other's faces is what makes this game so magical in the first place. But try it. If it works for you, let me know in the comments. If it doesn't work for you, let me know in the comments. What is your #1 DM simple trick tip like this that makes you run better games? That is always something that I love to hear. I get to expand my arsenal just like you all will get to read the comments and then expand your arsenal. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, leave a like down below. Leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The #1 way that you can help a small YouTube channel out is to share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. But that's all I've got for this week. So until next week, I'll be seeing you and get talking to your players.